Nostalgia is powerful. If you're old enough to remember when MTV actually showed music videos, when a trip to Blockbuster Video was the highlight of the weekend, and when Madonna looked like this instead of this, VHS Synth from Audiokit will be right up your street. In this video, I'll take a deep dive into how the app works and take a closer look at how it came to be. But if you're just here to find out if this app is any good, if it's worth your time, then yes, VHS Synth is bloody fantastic. Hey, it's Patrick here from the GarageBand Guide. Audiokit have released more synths than I've had hot dinners. Well, maybe not, but they've released a lot. From insta-buys like 2020's Housemarque 1 and last year's Knots-inspired Digitalism 2000 to controversially marketed limited edition, but thankfully now freely available, wildcards like Bass 808. VHS Synth is a wee bit different. Built on an all-new version of Audiokit's codebase, this one is a collaborative effort with Brian Funk. Who is Brian Funk? Well, he's the producer responsible for creating the sampled sounds available in this synth. Originally created as Ableton Live instruments, all sounds from his 80s VHS synths and VCR wave packs can be found in Audiokit's VHS Synth. Now that's a lot of sounds, and they're all fantastic. They were created by recording samples from various analog synths like the Prophet 6, Novation Base Station and Korg Volca FM onto VHS tapes and then exporting them. What takes the sound design possibilities of this app to a whole different level is that, like Digitalism 2000 before it, VHS Synth allows you to blend two of these sounds together. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Let's start at the beginning. When you first open VHS Synth, your first port of call will most likely be the presets. You'll have more available to you than I do here because I'm working with a pre-release build. More on that later. Tapping the black menu in the top centre of the app will open the presets menu, and as always, these are a great way to get a feel of what the app can do. When you're finished fiddling, tapping the main button will take you back to the main tab. There are a number of controls here, most of them are pretty self-explanatory. You have various effects along the bottom, volume and limiter controls, and a nice faux LCD meter display in the middle. You'll want to pay particular attention to the layers mix control, the vintage lo-fi control, and the VHS tape controls. Every preset has two sounds active, and the layers knob controls how the two sounds blend together. Hard left will only output one. Hard right will only output the other. 12 o'clock will blend them both together at 50% each. The depth and speed controls in the VHS tape section add a lovely warped effect to your sounds that can be quite transformative if cranked up. Or just add a bit of retro flavour if applied subtly. The noise control adds some tape hiss to your outputted signal. The vintage lo-fi controls add what is essentially a low-key bit crush effect, which, for my money, works best when used sparingly to add a little bit of retro flavour. Over on the More tab is where things get a little bit spicy. Here you can tap on these drop-downs and select from the 122 different sampled sounds. These sounds run the gamut from straight up 80s tinged synth and bass sounds to weird glitchy FX. Quick note here, if you're using the on-screen keyboard to play, you can't audition these sounds with this menu open. You need to select a sound, exit out of the menu, hear how it sounds, and then open the menu back up to switch to another sound. It's a bit of a faff, honestly. Hook up a MIDI controller to your iDevice, however, and you can audition sounds from within the menu, making the process much easier. You have various controls available for each of your sounds, including the option to link filter controls, which is nice, and individual ADSR controls for each as well. Over on the FX tab, you have harmonic filter and envelope controls for your outgoing signal, as well as a phaser, stereo delay with tempo sync, and a fire knob, which is essentially an overdrive effect. There is quite a lot to get to grips with control-wise here, but I think Audiokit have done a pretty good job of giving users a lot of depth of control while keeping the UI pretty uncluttered. Circling back to those presets then, Audiokit are renowned for inviting producers, musicians, and content creators to submit presets for their apps, and VHS Synth is no exception. In the release build of the app, you can expect free preset banks from Jacob Hack, Red Sky Lullaby, DJ Puzzle, DJ Mantra, Mark Hopkins, Analog Matthew, JEC, Marcus Manderson, aka The Fingers, Brian Funk himself, and yours truly. 80s nostalgia for me is all about the in the game. So I put together 9 presets inspired by sounds of video games of that time. I've never seen so many talented sound designers and producers submit presets to one app all at one time before, so I'm really excited to see what everybody else has put together. You can use VHS Synth in standalone mode or hook it up to your DAW of choice as an AUV3 plugin. In GarageBand, that means navigating to the external section of the instrument selection screen and choosing audio unit extensions. As I mentioned earlier, VHS Synth is built on Audiokit's new, apparently more stable AUV3 code, which can only be a good thing. I certainly didn't run into any troubles while testing. You can probably tell by this video so far that I really like VHS Synth, but there were a couple of things that I really wasn't a fan of. I talked about being unable to audition sounds while in the sounds menu using the touchscreen already. I would also have liked to see tempo sync buttons for the auto pan and tremolo effects. They're just harder to use in a project without that. Also, I don't really like that the layers mix control is on the main tab instead of the more tab where all of the other controls that you use to affect the two sounds and how they blend together are located. Despite those few niggles though, this is honestly brilliant. iOS Synth newcomers will find a lot to love in VHS Synth's straightforward UI and expansive selection of presets. Advanced users will love how easy it is to design and fine-tune their own unique takes on the many included sampled sounds. This is the best app that Audiokit have released in ages. It nails that nostalgic 80s feel, and I just think a lot of people are really gonna like this one. VHS Synth releases today, and you can grab it at an intro price of $3.99. That price may be slightly different depending on where you are in the world. It's also worth noting that a portion of proceeds from this app will go to UNICEF to help children in need. Considering the sheer volume of high quality sounds that you can create with this app, that is incredibly good value. I highly recommend checking it out. If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, then help me out by gently caressing that like button below. And if you want to check out even more excellent apps from Audiokit and others, then check out this playlist next.